Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Right, we're back now doing the last hurdle, I hope. Not hurdle, but the last stage. So now we've come down to this is where the cat's chest is now. A lot of this is white. So if you want to lighten your pencil off as much as you can, we are going to have some grey bits in here. Well, we're going to have all sorts of colours in here. So let me go through quite a few of the colours. Now, we might not use them all, but we're going to use a few of them. So what I've got in the luminance is we've got raw umber 10%, burnt ochre 10%, got the Naples ochre, got the French grey 10%, the Perylin brown. We've also got I've got the white and I've got a buff titanium, which is just a slightly off white. So we've got that one. I've got the olive brown 10% and the brown ochre 10%. Because white isn't really white, but it does have quite a few colours in it. So I'll put them there for now. They're the luminance. And then for the detail on top, so the fur and things like that, which includes this darker fur at this side. I'm going to be using an ivory. We're going to use the warm grey 1 and a warm grey 2 and also a warm grey 3. So we've got quite a few greys there. I've got the normal dark sepia. We've got terracotta, raw umber, burnt ochre in the polychromos, and also a burnt sienna. So they're in the polychromos range. Okay, they're going to be mainly used for detail on top. So what I'm going to start with, I'm actually going to start with the white and the buff titanium. So I'll start with the white, and I'm just going to do a bit of shading all the way around, just to give this a coat of white. Around here. Okay. And then this is where I'm going to sort of fade it off a little bit here. Okay. So I'm shading, but I'm going in the direction in which the fur is falling. Okay. Just gentle shading motions. If you move your head, tilt your head to the side, you will see that you do, you're going to cover it all. Keep moving your pencil round as well so that you try and keep the tip for as long as possible. Okay, so down here. Okay. Around this way. Back here. Okay. Now, another thing you could do if you wanted to, if you've got watercolor pencils, I recommend you use quite a high quality one. I like the Museum Aquarelle. If you wanted to, you could do first an initial coat. You could use the white and using some water, blend it in with some water. But for this particular exercise, I'm actually just using the luminance white because we are going to be putting lots and lots of other colours on here as well. Okie dokie, so just coming down to the bottom where I'm going to finish it off. Okay, and then just have a quick, if you tilt your head to the side, you can see if there's any parts that you've sort of missed. Okay. I've also gone in, let me just move this a minute this way, move that further that way. So I've also gone in here into this side bit here where we're going to be mixing both. This is where the white is going to go and the darker colours are going to mix there. So I'm going to lighten some of these off as well. Don't want to lighten them all off. The ones we need to lighten off as we go along, we'll do with the Tombow, which is the small Tombow rubber. I'll just get that from over here. Where did I put it? I can find it. I've got one here. This will do. Now this isn't the round one, but it'll do. This is the longer one. Make sure the edge is nice and clean. Clean it off. Okay, whoops. There we go. It's nice and clean. Okay, so that was the white. So now if you look at your reference photograph, whoops, move that down there and this back up here. If we look closely at the reference photograph, we've got some shadow just under here. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit of the buff titanium here as well. Again, in the direction of the fur. And I'm just shading it basically, and it fades away to about here. It comes here and then it fades off, and then it comes out here and it comes down to about there. Okay. So if I put that there and then fade that there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of, this is the olive brown 10%, so very light pressure over the top of the buff titanium. Okay. To about there. And then I've got the brown ochre 10%, and again, light pressure. And that's going to go shade in motion over the top there. Okay. So we can see where this shadow's starting. It's a little bit, you can see that there. See? Okay. And then as we come round here, it starts to turn a little bit. So carry on with the buff titanium. And don't forget, you've got this little rim of white there. So if we come round here with the buff titanium, again, making sure that we're in the direction of the fur. Now this comes a bit further down. This comes down to about here. Okay. And that comes round here to about there. And then it goes in that direction a little bit there. Okay, and then again fades away up there. Okay, so I'm just going to put the olive oak, the olive brown 10% over the top of this for now, because it has got a bit of a green tinge to it. And it comes around here, it actually starts to get a bit warmer. Okay. That comes around there. And then that does actually, what we need to do is just fetch a little bit more of it. And it sort of comes where you can see most of the pencil first strokes that I've put in. That's where that's covered till. Okay. And we are just shading at the moment. So there. And then put the olive green on top. Very light pressure. Shading backwards and forwards. So this is the base layers that we're putting on. So if they look, I mean, you can't see them that much on the screen at the minute. They do look fairly light there. But I'll really tilt it so you can see it. But if you tilt it, they are quite, there is quite a bit of colour down there. So but that's going to all sort of blend in with the other colours. So I'm just now going to get the white again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over all that bit we've just put colour on with the white. Okay, just to sort of blend them a little bit. So it will lighten them a little bit, but also if we put the white in, it's going to blend. So don't put heavy pressure, just light pressure. Come all the way around here and up here. Okay. Right up into this corner here and down here. And just blend. Okie dokie. So for now, what I need to do is I'm just going to pick up a polychromos. I'm going to use the warm grey 3. Make sure it's got a nice sharp point. And I'm going to mark in some of these pencil. Oops. Hang on, I've just got the. Let me just get the other pencil sharpener. That one's that just decided to fall out. Didn't me? Right, I've got a sharp point here. So I've got the warm grey 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm just lightly going to mark in. So there was a quite small up here at the top. I'm marking in some, so some of them will curl that way. So look carefully at your reference just to see. Some of them will make the form of a V, some won't. That's a V there, a V there. Okay. I've got a V there. Well, these are where the dark shadows are going to be. Okay. 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 So it might look a bit marked at the moment, but that's fine. But I'm just going to take this rubber and just rub out these lines here, which are on the edge, around the edge of the cat's muzzle, just so that we don't get these in, so they don't show at the finished on the finished piece. Get your brush and brush away all that excess dust. Got my piece of paper. Let me just have a look here. We haven't got rid of that bit there. And I've got a bit more pencil there. Okay. Right then. Excuse me. Now then, got the French grey 10% here. And up this side here, I'm just going to use, and there's again shading motions. Fetch that down here. Okay, into this section that we've just done. And then that starts to turn to come down and then round that way. There. Okay, and I'm just going to rub this end line out here. Not quite rubbed it out. There we go. So using the French grey 10%, I'm just going to literally, as I'm coming down, I'm just going to pull. You can see there. I'm just going to pull some of these bits of loose fur out around his cheeky bones there. There's a bit of dark colour there. So again, just put a little bit in and it comes round where his muzzle starts. Okay. And I'm just sort of going over a little bit some of these lines that we've got in. Okay. This side a bit more yellowy. So this one is the Naples ochre. Okay. So this side where we haven't got any colour, I'm just going to shade in some of the Naples ochre. Okay, only light, very light touch. Do it very lightly. Make sure you cover around there. A little bit of it into the center, towards the center. Okay, right. And then I'm just going to pick the white up again and literally repeat the first step that we did, which is lightly cover this white area of the cat. And what this will do is just blend in some of those colors nice and soft. So then the base layers will be in, and we can start using some of the polychromos to create some of these shadow areas. A little bit of luck. Okay. And your pencil so that you can keep the edge sharp point. Okay, dokie. So let me zoom out a little bit if I can on this piece. You can probably see it better that way. Gonna zoom out. Whoops. Okay, so you can see there we've got the lighter colours here and then on here. So we've done some quite light colours, all different colours mixed there for the actual base of the fur. Go zoomed out a little bit there. Let's have a look. Zoom. And we just tilt that in. Right, there we go. Just that bit there. Not that way, that way. Turn it that way a little bit. Okay, dokie. So you should be able to get a good view there. So I'm looking at the photograph now, and underneath this section and here, fading away up here, we've got some grey. So I've got the warm grey. So I've got, whoops, I've got in the polychromos, I've got warm grey 1, warm grey 2, warm grey 3, and then I've got the ivory as well. I'm just going to make sure all these are nice and sharp. Excuse the noise, it's the pencil sharpener I'm using. Okay. Nice sharp point on them. I'm going to start with a warm grey 1. So looking at the photo, so start here. Using some first strokes, very light first strokes. If you've got a bit too much pencil showing, just give it a bit of a rub. Okay. I'll use my plastic rubber at the minute. That's better. Okay. And then literally I'm just going to go back over with a little bit of ivy. And then I'm going to start with the warm grey 1. So this is the Polychromos 270. And I'm just going to do some very small first strokes this way. And down here. And back up there. They start to come down here a little bit. And then when I get to this bit, this I'm going to cut some into there. That's where his muzzle starts. There's a little bit of white fur there. Okay. And then carry on and put, especially where you get the lines, just put some extra layers just there. Okay. So again, still fairly light. Okay, and then come around here. About halfway under his muzzle there. There's some very nice light burst strokes, and just push a few into this, into the muzzle bit there. So you can see that's now starting to come out whiter. Right, so now we go on to the warm grey 2. And up here, we're going to have a little bit more of that shadow. And I'm actually going to put a little bit of the shadow again, using some short first strokes. Okay. Light pressure. So as I'm coming further down, I'm just concentrating more where these lines are and leaving the rest untouched. Okay. And then I'm coming in now with this, the warm grey 3. Now this I am only going to put where the lines are, but what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to use a light stroke, but also pull them and fade them into. So in other words, where the line is and then pull the pressure up and just lift them off. There's a lot more in the middle, so they'll be fairly close together. Okay. So doing very light first strokes. Yep. If you look, you can get you're getting shadows in through where the V. So this is where the fur isn't actually overlapping, it's sort of stood up a bit. And it's where it's sort of where each sort of section or clump of hair sort of stand up and stand out into the white fur. Okay, so just around each side of these lines, I'm just going to put some little V's. Okay, and around here, I'm just going to put a little bit of it in with this fur that comes out on the side. The paper a minute. Again, very light. You want some coming in and some going outwards because you want to push some into the white fur. And also don't make them let them go in sort of some different directions. Okay, to the top there. Okay. So using those 3 colours and a little bit of the, use a dark sepia very lightly up here at the top where the darker shadows are. Okay. using very light pressure. And as we come out into this lighter fur, just lift your pressure off and put less pressure on there. Okay. And then just gently put some odd ones in and around here. Some in and out of, and if you look, that bit there does curl up a little bit. And then what it does, it actually comes down more or less vertical. So again, just keep mixing with your, just keep putting in some warm greys. So first strokes using the warm grey one around that muzzle there, just cutting into it just to make sure you got some colours in there. Okay. I'm going to actually go back to some of the luminance. I'm going to go with the buff, oh, I've got the buff titanium. Okay. So I'm actually going to shade in with some of this buff titanium. So I'm shading over some of these grey shadowed areas where the tufts of hair are. I'm using light to medium pressure, shading some of these dark sepias. Turning it there as we come down into this section. Like that. Again, going across. Blending those grey areas, and you can see they're starting to blend, so they look a bit softer than these areas on this side. So of course we go across this side, do exactly the same, the buff titanium, and it will start to soften some of these tufts of hair. Okay. Right the way around. Okay, so that's them bits blended in. I'm now going to go in with the French grey 10% and literally just start to some definition into these clumps of fur. So pulling out as we get light into the lighter areas. Okay, keep turning the pencil. You see shadows, just literally pull it up into the white fur there and down from there. And we get a nice mix of the white fur. So this bit on his chest is longer than what's on his face, but it's not that much longer. It's still fairly short hair. And as you can probably hear, he's here now. He's whinging, he wants to go out. Okay. Again, where the shadows are, and then just release the pressure as we're coming out into this lighter area. Do that all over, but remembering to follow the line or direction in, well, we call it direction of form, so whichever direction fur's going, and here it starts to curl up a little bit. Okay. So this side is a bit shaded. Now I'm going to go over with some ivory from the Polychromos range. I'm going to go right up there. I'm just going to sort of cover this area here. I'm only using a shading motion again. Okay. Light to medium pressure. That should warm the fur up a little bit. Instead of being white, it's a bit more, got a little bit of ivy into it. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to introduce a different colour. I'm going to introduce the light cobalt blue from the Luminance range. And all I'm going to do is in these shadows areas, you're hardly going to see it because I'm hardly putting any pressure on. But where these darker shaded areas are, I'm actually just going to put a glaze on. Just to add that bit of coolness to where the shadows are. Okay, and then literally pull that out into the lighter areas. And I'm just going to go around where these little shadow pieces are. Putting a little bit of the blue in there. Okay. Now then, I get the white Museum Aquarelle and I'm going to sharpen it. If I can find the other sharpener, it's here somewhere. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some of this now with Museum Aquarelle with a little bit of firm pressure, not firm, but sort of medium, and just do some little first strokes all over, just so it blends a lot of this pencil in. Using sort of a medium pressure. Okay. Go. So what this is doing, this is nicely blending some of that white fur back in there. Okay. Let me just see if you're not going to see a lot with the slice, but wonder is where those lines are. I'm just actually going to put a little bit of just using the slice just to take out some little sections around there. So some little first strokes. And don't forget, they're not going in, so they sort of fan out. They sort of go that way. And then, so if you've got that line, you're going from the center that way and then that way. And that produces the lines of the little tufts, as we call them, in the fur. Okay. Keep looking at the reference photograph and you'll see them. I'm not bothered too much about this area at the minute because we have got some other colours to put in there. If we can get this little white section done. So some of them go that way, and then some of them go that way. Keep dusting off all the dust. If you can actually see it, but when you move the light around, you'll see that we are putting in quite a few bits of white tufts on the fur. And on here, you'll have some coming down, some going back out that way, curling up, some curling down. Lots of little marks. Sort of try and fan them out a little bit. See? Keep dusting them off. That this is classed as short white fur. Need to put some of the white back in. There we go. Right, so now let's just have a look at this side and try and start to get this blended in a little bit, and then you may be able to see it a little bit better. So okay, so that looks quite dark at the moment. When we put these darker colors in, it make these recede a little bit and look a little bit light. But as I say, they're not perfectly white anyway. Right, so for this section, I mean, we've got the polychromos and we've got some of these luminance as well. So we're going to use the luminance for base coat. So we've got raw umber, we've got the burnt ochre 10%, we've got the perylene brown, but we'll use that once we've got that's to darken up basically. So what other colors have we got? We've got the buff titanium. And we've got the brown ochre 10%. So if you look, I've got those colors to start with. So just going to lighten these colors slightly, these marks slightly. But I need to see them. Okay. Looks like I've got some pencil there. There we go. So now I'm going to put that there because I don't want it to mark. Okay. Right then. So with these, because it's a bit longer here, and because we're sort of mixing it, we're trying to mix the colors, but using first strokes rather than blending. So I push some into the white and I pull some out of the white. And then as we get to the top again, it all starts to turn upwards like that. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, I think, is what colours have I got in? Right, so I've got this is a watercolor pencil. It's a sepia 10%. If you haven't got this color, it's like a grey color. but it's a warm browny grey. What I'm going to do is I'm literally going to put this into there. Now, by the time it comes here, it's sort of becoming more vertical. The strokes, the fur is coming more vertical. Okay, but then as it comes up here, we have to move it round again. So up here, and that's his back fur there. So do that coming back round there. Again, it's quite short fur, but it's got some tufts in it. So, but this is going to be very dark. It's going to be a little bit darker than maybe his face. Okay, there. What I'm going to do is so I've done this as a base layer rather than the luminance. So I'm just going to get in fact, I'm just going to use a cotton wool bud. You can use a brush if you want, but I'm going to use a cotton wool bud. And what I'm going to do is I'm just literally softening. So I'm dampening this because it's a watercolor. I'm just going to put a little bit of water on, and I'm just going to blend this so it's soft, so it sort of softens it and evens it out a little bit more for a base coat rather than mess about with the luminance, and then just push it in and out of the fur bit there at the top. And then down here at the bottom, I'm just going to add a little bit more water just to fade it away a little bit more so it's not quite so harsh. There we go. Okay. So you can actually see the definition there. So that's the white section. This is going to be the brown section. Okay, so we'll just give that a couple of minutes to dry. So if you can see there now, we're starting to see the shape of the back of the cat, and you can see where the fur's coming up and then it comes back round. Okie dokie. So let me put that away. I'm actually just going to get a little bit more of the cobalt blue that we were using. Just up here, I'm just going to introduce a little bit more. So I'm just glazing. So it's very light, like very light shading moves, but it's actually just glazing. Okay. It's just to put a touch of the blue in the white, which when I do eyes, you will probably notice that I nearly always put cobalt blue in because it does make it look white and glossy. So I'm just putting a little bit of the blue in with this white fur just to determine some of the shadows. And you can see this side's a bit cooler than that side. Okie dokie, so we've done that. So now I'm going to start with some of these polychromos pencils and some of the luminance. So I've got the burnt ochre 10%. So it's got like a pinky look to it. I'm going to start, so I'm going to push some of them up into the white like that. But also I'm going to drag some down. So you want some strokes going up and some down. Using a medium pressure. And then don't forget to turn your fur here. Oh, here it starts to just come out a little bit there on his back, and then turn it back round. Coming down this way here, and then it starts to go more or less vertical. Okay, so I'm just going to shade this bit here now because we're going to put in the tufts and the lines of the fur like we did with the face. We're going to do that for the darker colours, but for the first little bit here, I want to get I'm putting a few first strokes here because obviously we're going to see some lighter ones coming out. and also going into this white here and coming out. But the rest of it can be sort of shaded for now. And then just go as far as you want the paper to go. Okay, so I'm not doing a lot of this colour here at the moment. That's going to be about as much of his back as you're going to see. So keep looking at your reference photo. I can just, oops, again. So let's have a look. Where's his face gone? Here we go. So I'm just going to, start by putting in a little bit of this raw umber here. So I'm starting to build up some of these darker shades. And if I look where these dark patterns are going to be, using first strokes, and I'm using the luminance pencil for now. I'm looking at where these tufts are. So we've got a tuft of dark colour there. So this is a bit like what we did with the face. I haven't marked them in though with the polychromos. I don't see the point because a lot of this here is going to be dark anyway. Okay, it's a little bit lighter there, but then as you come out, there is some dark here. And that goes up there. Okay, and then we come down here. And then this starts to get a bit darker here. It's got a little bit of light here. Then we've got some more dark coming here. And then we start to turn. And then we've got a clump of light hair. And then we've now got a clump of the dark hair more or less vertically coming down there. And then here it's sort of starting to turn a little bit there. Okay, so that's where the darker clumps are going to be. Okay, so I'm now moving on to the polychromos, and I'm going to start with the burnt ochre, this one here. Now we do have a burnt ochre in the luminance, but I don't want to get too much of a waxy feel on it, and secondly, this has got a nicer orangey color which we used on the face. So looking at the picture again, using some lighter pressure here. Okay, I'm just going to use this where the lighter area is, just up here. And it turns there. Okay, comes down here. We have a little bit. So where it actually crosses into the white. And then here it gets a little bit, the fur gets a little bit shorter. Like that. Then it comes down here. I'm just going around these darker areas, or what are going to be the darker areas, with this burnt ochre pencil. Okay. Again, don't forget to keep turning your pencil. Okay. There we go. So now you can start to see the pattern, coming out, and it's starting to look like the colours are matching into his face, which they should do. Right, so now moving on to the burnt sienna, because as I say, there's quite a lot of dark fur here. Now, careful with your stroke. So you want a very sharp pencil, and I'm trying to hold it more or less upright because I'm pushing some into the white and then pulling some out of the white as well. But I don't want to lose this lighter colour here as well. And then I'm going to fetch it out to here where some of this, where we've put the darker bits. Like that. So some nice lighter strokes there. And we've got some dark patches here. As you come into light, just lightly lift the pressure, and then where it's darker, just put a little bit more pressure on. There we go, like that. So you will start to end up with some tufts of fur. Yeah. Here's where it starts to go in different directions. We've got a dark tuft down here. And that, got some darker ones coming down here. Trying to curve them as much as I can where they curve. That light a bit there, and then it goes dark here. So pushing them in and out. So this is, I'm leaving some of the lighter end bits so it makes it look a little bit fluffier. The dark section there. There. So we have got an idea where the dark areas are now because of the colours that we put in. Okay. You can see there. So I'm just going to use this terracotta and put a glaze over it for now. I'm sort of shading backwards and forwards, putting a light glaze of the terracotta just to give it that more orangey feel. Okay. Plus, it does blend in some of the hairs as well. So I'm just going to get the white or the buff titanium, sorry, for them, the luminance, and I'm using a shading motion, and it's just blending these colors now. So obviously this is going to lighten them, and we will start to re-darken them with some other colors again in a minute. But what I'm trying to achieve here is a little bit of a softer feel. There we go. So it doesn't look, so it doesn't destroy the hairs, but it also blends them in a little bit. So we'll use that again later. Right, so the burnt sienna again. So this time I'm going to use a little bit more of the medium pressure and the first strokes. And as we come out into the lighter area, I'm just going to pull off on the pressure, but putting some in so that it just doesn't stop. Then that way you'll get the feel of it sort of being dark and then lightening off. Okay, so we've got quite a bit of the dark area here. Lifting off into a lighter area. Then here, around where the white fur is, we are going to have quite a lot of this dark because it's casting a shadow and it's underneath some of this white fur. Okay. The light strokes and then pulling it out lightly into the, so releasing pressure as we're going into the lighter areas. There we go. And also changing some of the dark, the way, so you're pushing some of the strokes into the paper and then you're pulling some out as well. So that will give it that bit of a fluffy look as well, and not just sharp linear strokes. Okay. Release pressure as you're coming into the lighter area. Here's where it gets a lot darker. Pull it out into the lighter area. And just reinforce some of the darker areas here. Okay. And then obviously pull the pressure off a little bit. And then, so we're darkening this up all the time, but we're also keeping some of the light patches a lot lighter, but they still need to be darker than what they are now. Okay. That. Now I'm going to put some of this Perylene Brown in, where it's really dark. Again, I'm doing pushing and pulling some of these strokes there into the white areas. And the tip of the pencil. So, you can hold your pencil up a little bit higher and you'll get a nice sharp point. And again, don't forget, turn your pencil and then pull, also release some of the pressure when you're getting into the lighter colours. Okay. So you're not going to use the Perylene Brown around here is going to be used less, more here. And then I'm going to go back over with, I'm going to put a little bit of the dark sepia in where these darker areas are. So pulling off on some of the areas with the pressure. And other bits, just putting some dark sections in there. Okay, just to give it that extra bit of darkness. You can even use start to use some of the browns from the polychromos. So something like a Van Dyke brown or a burnt umber, they would be nice colours to use. But I just like the reddy browns when I'm trying to show some dark fur. Okay. Again, I'm just going to glaze over with some terracotta. Okay. Again, put some of this burnt sienna from the polychromos range. And then that'll take just a little bit of the redness off. It'll dye it down into more of a brown, but it will keep it dark. There we go. And then shade it into these few dark areas that are here. There we go. Okay. And then burnt ochre, I'm just going to shade back over just to make sure those light areas have got enough colour in them. And then just one more sweep through with the, I'm going to use the brown ochre 10% from the luminance. So it's a lighter colour. And I'm actually going to go over everything just to blend. So I'm not blending with the white this time. I'm blending with this lighter colour. This, the burnt ochre 10%. Okay. But it's going to lighten some of the dark areas. But I mean, they were compared to the rest of the fur on the cat, a bit dark. So there, so that's where his darkest bit is, and that's because of the way he's turned. But you can see how the white's standing out now a little bit. So I'm just going to get the, what's that? That's the buff white. I don't want that. So let me sharpen the white. Okay. And then I'm just going to literally, I'm just going around the edges here and doing the same as we did with the dark colours on that side, pushing some in and pulling some out. So that's blending those colours. It's also giving them the impression of the fur. Okay. So now we just need the slice tool. And literally make some of these hairs a little bit finer. Do some here at the top where the lighter bits are and they're curled up. And I'm doing it mainly in the light areas and then just pulling a few strands into where the darker areas are. We don't want too much. Don't want to wipe out these dark areas altogether. Okay. And then we start to come downwards a little bit here. Okay. Get the brush. Find it. Where's the brush gone? See ya. Downwards away from you. Okay. And then I've got another colour, which is the raw umber. And I'm just going to glaze certain areas that look a little bit yellower than others. So it's got a little bit of a yellowy tinge to it. So I've just put some of those in there. And then again, brown ochre. And then just going to put in some more of this burnt sienna. Yeah. Where the biggest part of the dark colour is. Okay. And we've got a little bit there and just release the pressure as we come up into the lighter areas. Up. And then this bit here starts to turn and that's where he's got some more dark areas. Pulling some up. And then we've got this darker area here and it comes up. There we go. And then you'll have some of the odd hairs. So if you want to go on some of these vertical ones and just pull a few odd hairs there. Okay. And then just double check this white area. Just going to go back over. I'm going to blend it with the warm grey one. I'm just blending again. Not everywhere, but just where the more coloured areas are. So where we've got some of the shadows. And I've got the warm grey too. In the more shaded areas, which is usually under here. Because his head's turned this way a little bit, his body's that direction. So the shadow is going to be more here. Okay. And then again, just repeat this process with the slice. Want to show some more of these whiter hairs. Or blend some more. I more likely like to call it where I'm blending some of the shadows where we have some little highlights in there. And then up here it turns again. Okay. Brush again. There we go. I think it's about done. Okay. So, yep, I think that's about done. Just a few maybe loose hairs here that need to be softened in. There we go. Get the white as well. A little bit of some of the whites back in there. You may find might help just to go through some of the lighter areas with light pressure with the white, just to add a little bit more of the light in there. Like here up at the top, it's quite a bit of light as well. Okay, and there he is, he's done. I think that's our whiskey finished. As I say, this is a slightly reddier colour and darker because of the way his head is turned and his body is facing. Okay, and then this was the lighter side where the light was actually coming in to his body. So let me just see if I can reduce him a little bit more. No, that's about all I can do. So yeah. All right, so let's go back again. Okay, so that's him reduced as much as I can on there with the camera. But what I can do is take this block out. I've had it on, I've had a block underneath, so he's been at an angle. There we go. So that is one whiskey. I'll try and show you the actual again, but I'll show you on my phone, so it'll be a little bit. That's the actual, oops, that's our actual whiskey there. Okay. I mean, it looks a bit orangey because you're looking at the screen, but you can see how much darker his fur is here. But I'm sure when you print the or download the reference photograph, you'll see. Now then, the last thing we need to do is, let's have a look, is his whiskers. He's also got, has it got any? He's got his eyebrows there. We've got more hairs there in his ears, so that's fine. Right, so his hair, his whiskers are actually gonna. Right, let me try putting them in. I can either use the white Museum Mackerel or the white luminance. I mean, he hasn't got a lot, to be quite honest, to be fair. He's getting on a little bit now, so he's struggling. So let's just pull them out just a little bit there. So you want to sort of put your point and flick it like that. Now, some people have used the it's the pens, gel pens. I don't particularly like them. I think they're a bit too heavy. So what I'm going to do is I can get some of this Winsor Newton white gouache and a very fine brush. Where's my brush has gone? Through here. I'm just going to get a very fine brush. My brush case. Got some water here, so should be okay. So I've got a long brush here, which is quite fine. Got a nice point on it anyway there. And this is a one of the Billy Shoal brushes that I have. And when you wet it, you can see it's really nice point, because I don't need a lot of this. So I'm not even going to take it out of the tube. I'm just going to literally like that and stroke it off, and then do that, making sure I've got a nice point. That's it. And then just lay the brush flat, because it's got a long point and it's got quite a long brush stem. You can start with the point like that and then just pull it and you get one even stroke basically. And then looking on this side, I'm just going to turn it round this way, so it might look a little bit odd on his side. Okay. And again, just get the tip on there, pull it as one stroke like that, just so it doesn't look odd. Okay. There we go. And I think he's got a few little white ones here, so I'll just use the gouache quickly on there as well. So if you can see now, if you just go round and if you check round and if you see there's any, so if you need a bit, make sure you haven't got any blobs on the edge of your brush. And then just look and see if there's any other bits that need. Now, if they come out a little bit too white, you can always, I mean, they will dry that little bit duller. But if they look too white, you can always put some colours over them. So I'm just looking now at where, so like in certain parts of the eye, the highlight, if that's a bit dull. That. So I'm just checking over my reference picture and my actual picture on I've done here. And if I need to put any fine white hairs anywhere, and tap them with your little finger if you want, that actually blends them into the, whoops, into the, so like here, if we've got some fine white hairs, and just tap them. Now that's gone a bit too, there we go. So just gently tap. Same on this side, if he's got any, if you want to show a few more of those stray white hairs that come out there, then just tap them like that. It just adds a little bit more definition to your painting. And then we've got some, I think what I might do is just here, we've got quite a bit of white sort of edge of fur there. And then if I just tap it after a couple of seconds, just at the bottom, it will blend into the ginger fur there. And then a few more straggly bits in there. And also he has got, let me just define these a little bit more. This is like the eyebrow on this side. He hasn't really got any, but he should have one there. So I'm just going to put a couple in just so you can see that it doesn't look odd. There we go. So they're not too obvious, but they're just subtle. And they're just gonna literally sort of blend in. Make sure you clean your brush right out. Put it back nice and safe. Okay. So that now is Whisky finished. I'm quite pleased with it. You could spend a bit more time on his chest if you want to, but that for me is fine. When I look at it, it might look a bit darker on your screen, but when I've done it, it is a lot lighter. But if you're not happy with it, just go back over it with a little bit of white. It's a matter of just blending these colours in. They are there, but they just need to look a little bit softer. They don't want to be really harsh. And as I say, white fur isn't white fur, but when you've put this dark bit in and you've got this bit, it does give it the colour thing. And then also I've left that edge around here, so that does look a little bit whiter, but it makes it look like we've got the shadows underneath, so that's going underneath his fur. You can probably darken these a little bit if you wish, with some little odd bits of dark sepia just along here, just to give it that bit of darker shadow just there. Okay. But that, yes, I'm fine with that. That's done. I'm happy with it. And I'm glad I put the foundation on with the Museum Mackerel. If you haven't, just a watercolor white pencil will do. That'll suffice. That will be fine. And make sure these edges are a little bit fluffy. And as you can see, that blends in there nicely. Some of them look a little bit too straight, so I might just, that's it. Make sure some of them do curl a little bit, because fur isn't known to be rigidly straight. And when it goes down further down here, it starts to go vertical, but it's sort of got a kink on it as well. Okay, that's better. There we go. Gonna have to stop now. So just keep standing back. And as I say, stop, stand your painting up, stand back, and you'll see if there's anything else that you need to do with it. The only thing I can think of is on here. I'm just going to put, because down the bottom it has got a little bit of the darker grey, so I'm just going to put a bit of some fur, and also reiterate these darker blobs where the whiskers are coming from, which then grounds the whiskers as well. And then around here, a bit more shadow around here. It's very short fur on his muzzle. Just want to put a few. I just want to make it sure that it looks like fur lines. Now, it has got quite a bit of a grey tone to this, or dull tone. So I've used some greys. There we go. And then we've got that sort of, this bit that was a little bit more reddy orange coming down here, and that was because of the way light was shining on it. And we've got that dark shadow there. Let's fetch that out a little bit. That's it. Put a little bit of colour in. It goes up there as well. There we go. That's better. I'm happy with that now. And that's it. That's our whiskey. He's all done and dusted. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed doing it. I'm not sure what the next project is. If anybody wants to drop me a line or a message, if there's anything specific they would like to see me do or would like to have a go at, that's no problem. I'm going to be doing it. I am looking at some watercolor projects as well as colored pencil. I just seem to find colored pencil I'm quite taken up with it. And if I've done watercolor first, you do tend to, pick the colored pencil up quite easily. So So I'll have a look at some projects, or if you want to drop me a message and of anything that you would like to do, and we'll have a look and see what we can do. As I say, I want you to get enjoyment from it. So if there's something you specifically would like to do, then just let me know. That's not a problem. Okay, so let's have a look at him. There we go. That's his head. So his light on top of his head. The light is coming from the right-hand side into the left. If we go down, you can see, because of the way his head's turned and his body is, we have some shadows there. We've got the nice ginger fur there going into the white fur, and then in this white fur we've got a few warmer tones in here. We've got some cool tones. And as we've put the brown in, it's made that look a bit more white. But as I say, you don't get clear white. I've put a few bits of gouache in to, differentiate a few lines and his whiskers. But other than that, that's it. He's finished. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoy it. Drop me a line, and also upload your pictures so that we can have a look at them and see how you've done. Okay. So thank you very much for joining in with the project. Good night, and I hope to see you again soon. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.